Thank you all for joining me this morning. As you all know, I'm Anita. Well, now you know, I'm Anita. I'm an attorney and partner here at Alcorn Immigration. And I'm excited to be talking about how to get your parents here to the United States as soon as you possibly can, post-COVID and just in general. I feel like that's every immigrant child's dream not every, I shouldn't say every, but it's an immigrant child's dream to be able to say that I'm going to bring my parents over. And that's it if you ask me. We'll go ahead. So here we are. Yep. U.S. citizens. If you're a U.S. citizen, you can bring your parents to the United States. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Here's the Alcorn story. What we do, we overcome borders, expand opportunity, and connect the world by practicing compassionate, cutting-edge, and rigorous immigration law in service of the betterment of humanity. Again, I'm Anita. I'm a partner here at Alcorn, where we are the fastest growing immigration firm in the Silicon Valley. I am an alumni of Santa Clara Law as well as UCLA. And I hold an expertise in family-based immigration, meaning all of these parent petitions, marriage-based petitions, K-1, fiance visas. I have prior experience in my past life, as one of my associates always likes to say. I previously practiced family law, so divorces and issues of that nature, and it was different, but that helps me. Family law helps me with my family-based immigration practice. I came to the United States when I was 4 years old. I am a proud American. I was raised Armenian ethnically. I'm 100% Armenian, but interestingly enough, I was born in Iraq, born in Baghdad, and came here when I was 4 years old. Here's a picture or a copy of mine and my sister's green cards. This is me down there. Resident aliens, that's what we used to be called. Now we would be considered lawful permanent residents, but I think that's adorable. Our green cards were pink, not because we're little girls, but just what they used to be back then. This is our amazing team, led by our fearless leader and founding partner, founding attorney, Sophie Alcorn, our tremendous, compassionate, smiley, lovely team members that help our clients live the American dream. This is our network. We have clients that hail from these various institutions. We support individuals from these institutions. So we're very fortunate and lucky to be able to consider these power partners as a part of our network. Diving right in. Let's go ahead and get started. Immigration overview. So what's the typical pathway for status here in the United States? We have two kind of main tracks. One where you enter the United States with a temporary visa or a visa of some sort, then apply for a green card and then apply for US citizenship. But there's also another pathway where instead of going the temporary visa route, it's actually you can, at the consulate, apply right off of the bat for your green card. This is critical for a lot of parent immigration cases, because oftentimes what we do is child is in the US, they came on with some sort of status, and then they want to bring their parent who's still in their home country. So they petition for their parent to enter the United States, but they're entering the US a while down the road. It'll take some time to go down this process, and of course I'll discuss it in a moment. But what it is you obtain your green card at the consulate in your home country, and then you enter the United States with your green card from there. So two different pathways, both perfectly viable options, and I'll discuss both of them in a bit later on. Green cards through marriage to United States citizen. So this is a pathway. It's an option. Maybe your parent wants to is in love and wants to get married to a U.S. citizen. So it's an option if the individual can apply for adjustment of status of the individuals already in the United States, invalid status where they enter as maybe an H-1B visa holder, any type of visa, as long as they enter legally. They get married to a United States citizen, and then they can file for their adjustment of status here in the U.S. with USCIS, and then they ultimately attend a green card interview at the local offices stationed throughout the country, and then they get their green card that way. So it's certainly a viable option. You can actually even marry a green card holder. The person that you marry to get status doesn't have to necessarily be a U.S. citizen. I don't know if my slides say that, but it's certainly an option. Immigration during COVID. It's been a fun year, hasn't it? Fun to say the least. Immigration during COVID. It's possible. It's difficult, but it's been possible. What it has looked like. It's just been very, very vague, very unclear. It's been, I think I would easily say, the most difficult year of my immigration career, because it leaves me kind of at a loss of words and just loss of knowledge and information when somebody asks me, how long is this process going to take me? And I look at them, I kind of shrug my shoulders and I say, I can tell you how long it would have taken you pre-COVID, but it's hard for me to kind of look into my crystal ball and say, this is how long it's going to take you now. I can make educated guesses, but I always tell people, don't hold me to that educated guess. I really don't know exactly, but for the most part, this is what we can expect. So obviously this has to do with the delays with biometrics and interviews. So if you're in the United States, just expect delays overall. If you're outside of the United States, assuming you can even get a consular appointment, there's going to be delays with that as well. Or if you can't get a consular appointment, like for example, our parent-based cases, interviews have been halted for those applicants. So unless there's some extreme dire need for your parent who, let's say, is in India, for them to enter the United States as green card holders and schedule that visa interview, there has to be an emergency, an emergent need for them to come to the United States with their green cards. And that's difficult to prove. So there's just delays. We are hearing rumors, credible rumors, but I take everything with a grain of salt these days with any changes, is that there's a likelihood, there's a possibility that we will see the borders opening up again, hopefully on or around May 1st. So stay tuned. We definitely will give you more updates and feedback on that. Moving on, telephonic appearances at local USCIS interviews. It's feasible, it's possible. Right now during COVID, what the local offices are trying to do is have as few people in their offices, in their locations as possible, because they're trying to help limit the spread, or just limit the people who are in their offices and their facilities to, of course, bring COVID to a halt, bring it to more of a standstill, but also most importantly, protecting their USCIS officers and employees. And I very much respect that. So what USCIS has done is they're now offering telephonic appearances at these local interviews, which is fantastic. And the telephonic appearances are specifically for the attorneys. So if you're an applicant, you still have to go in person, but your attorney can be called in. Over the course of the past year, we have attended these interviews telephonically, and it works. The officers are doing a good job of making sure and accommodating that the attorneys can hear, that they can be a part of the process. And I always tell my clients, the local offices and the attorneys that are at the officers that are conducting these USCIS interviews, they're wonderful people. They're just doing their job. They're kind, they're cordial, they're respectful, and they're doing whatever they can in their power to make you feel comfortable during what is a very nerve-wracking time. So that said, telephonic appearances, attorneys can attend with you. Green card bans at the consulate, kind of touched upon that initially up top. Green card Green cards have been banned at the consulates unless you fall under one of the few exceptions. One of those few exceptions are if you're married to a US citizen or a green card holder. Unfortunately, the green card bans at the consulate have banned parent-based green card applications. So those ones have been stuck at a standstill. What does that mean for those applications? They're kind of just, they're paused. As soon as the consulates reopen, the National Visa Center and just the Department of Homeland Security will be working to reschedule those interviews based off of capacity and availability of these consulates, which begs another question. And expedited appointments, right? Even if you can get an expedited appointment, even when you are able to schedule these, we're still going to see this continued backlog, this continued delay, because these consulates, these offices, both in and outside of the United States, they're opened on a limited capacity. So based off of that limited capacity, we're just going to see processing times be extended and be delayed. So I know USCIS is doing whatever they can to waive interviews and to limit processing times or reduce processing times rather. But it's not an easy task that they have to deal with. So patience for them is critical. And then obviously patience with just throughout the process. There's nothing that we can do to get through this. I guess touching back on those expedited appointments, it is for extreme, urgent, dire situations. Unless somebody is coming to the United States to cure COVID, cure cancer, or somebody is, God forbid, on their deathbed, and the person has to enter the United States to be with you, you're not going to have much luck with these expedited appointments. Does that mean that you should not even try? Try, there's no harm in trying, but just go in with that attempt with your expectations set low. As hard as that is for me to say, it's just what we're dealing with right now and have been dealing with for the past year. US citizens, sponsor your parent. That's one of the biggest and most exciting things of becoming a US citizen, being able to now sponsor and petition for more people. As a green card holder, you are limited on who you are permitted to sponsor to get green cards based off of family relationships. So as a green card holder, you can only petition for your spouse and your child. That's it. You can't petition for anybody. I don't think that's it. I think that's it. That's it. You can't petition for anybody else. But once you're a US citizen, that your options grow by 2 whole family members, and that is your parents and your siblings as well. We're not talking about siblings today, but as a US citizen, you can petition for your siblings. And fun fact, that's how I came to the United States. My sibling didn't petition for me, but my dad's sibling petitioned for my dad, and we were able to tag along with my dad's application. So maybe we'll do a webinar on that another day. Those processing times are, whew, if you think there's delays with COVID, wait until you hear what the F4 visa backlogs are. It'll take people, I think, 10 to 15 years in order for them to see their sibling in the United States with their green card. Anyway, I digress. Let's focus on sponsoring your parent. Who's eligible to sponsor their parent? US citizens only. So a US citizen child, and that child has to be 21 years of age or older. I'm sorry that your 6-month-old baby, regardless of whether or not they're a US citizen, they cannot petition for you until they're 21 years of age. Why 21? I don't know. There's so many arbitrary, weird ages with immigration law, and just 21 is just what they decided. So that's just what regulations are, what laws are, and what Congress enacted. So 21 years, you have to be 21 years of age or older. So again, going back to that very first slide, there's 2 different pathways. There's the consular processing pathway, and there is there's the green card pathway. Noticing some typos in my slide, I apologize. But, oh no, sorry, going back. So who can not adjust their status? Who can consular process? Anybody can consular process. You don't have to be, you obviously have to ultimately be in your home country to consular process. Finally, but you can be in the United States. You can travel in and out of the United States as a visitor, or just whatever it may be. But basically anybody can consular process. Consular processing is ultimately just having your green card focused on and sent to your home country, and your case will be scheduled for interview in your home country. Would I recommend somebody who's in the United States on an H-1B already with work authorization and travel authorization to consular process? Probably not, but it's definitely something that we can consider and we can talk about. So if you find yourself in that awkward position of, do I consular process? Do I adjust my status? What should I do? What's the pros and cons? Schedule some time with me. Let's talk. But so again, apologies for that typo. Who can adjust their status? Who can consular process? Just about anybody. How do you get your green card through that process? It's a 3-step process. The first step of that process is your U.S. citizen child who's over the age of 21 years old has to file an I-130 petition for alien relative in the United States with USCIS saying, I'm a U.S. citizen and I want my mommy to get her green card. So with that, the I-130 petition is filed, and you have to prove the relationship that you have. Laws for petitioning for a mom versus petitioning for a dad, petitioning for even a step parent. Did you know that you can petition for a step parent? All of those have different rules and different requirements of who can. How you will be proving your parent-child relationship varies based off of who you're petitioning for, but that's the very first step. So you file that I-130 petition with proof of that parent-child relationship, that bond that you have, and then that processes. Usually processing times are about 6 to 8 months. Once that process is approved, then the case gets forwarded over to the National Visa Center. Step 2 of the process, this entity in the United States that document gathers for the consulates around the world. We provide the National Visa Center with additional information and documents, primarily vital documents of the applicant. So the parent that we're petitioning for, marriage certificate, birth certificate, passport, all of those documents, we provide that to the National Visa Center. Once the National Visa Center, and financial documents of the petitioner. So the child that's petitioning, their financial documents. They do need to be able to say that I can financially support my parents when they come to the United States, should they become a public charge, get food stamps, welfare, whatever it may be, I will financially back my parents. So that's a portion of it as well. So once the National Visa Center says, hey, cool, we have everything that we need from you, you parent are documentarily qualified, let's move on to the next portions of your application. Step 2 is done. And then what the National Visa Center will do next is schedule your case, work with a consulate in your home country to schedule your case for interview. That case being scheduled for interview will be done automatically. Whether or not you like it, you kind of just have to do it. They'll say, hey, Anita's mommy, your case has been scheduled for interview. Please come into our consulate or our embassy on this day at this time so that we can interview you, so we can give you the green card. So that's step 3 of the process, the final interview. Mom or dad, step parent, whoever it is, goes to the interview. Assuming everything goes well, they will take your passport from you. So parent, they're going to take that passport from you. They're going to put that visa stamp in your passport. And why do I say visa? It is a visa. It's an immigrant visa with the permission to enter the United States as a green card holder. Once you enter into the United States with that immigrant visa, you are in the US as a green card holder with the immediate permission to work in the US, travel internationally, and all of that fun stuff. Eventually, you have to make one final nominal payment, and your formal, the actual green card, it's not really green anymore either, but I don't know if the green cards were ever actually green. It's kind of multicolored, besides the point, but that will come into the mail, and your parent will receive a full 10-year green card. So that's the consular processing route. If you have any questions about it, of course, as always, reach out to me, and we'll schedule some time to speak. Adjustment of status. So what is adjustment of status? Adjustment of status is getting your green card while in the United States. Again, for this, the individual or the parent rather has to be in the United States already, and they have to have entered the United States legally initially. I can go through a couple of examples of that, but let's say your parent is in the United States on an H-1B visa for whatever reason, or maybe they entered the United States when you were not born yet. Maybe your parents entered the let's say I'm 21 years old. Oh, I wish I was 21. Maybe, let's say I'm 21 years old and my mommy entered the United States with a B2 visa 30 years ago. If my mom entered the United States as a tourist 30 years ago, and then I was born 21 years ago, I can now petition for my mom to get her green card based off of the fact that I'm a US citizen. I was born in the US. I'm 21 years of age now. And my mom entered the United States with a B2 visa 30 years ago. And what's key here is that my mom has proof of her legal entry and that she was admitted and inspected and admitted into the United States. So with proof of that, I'm able to apply for adjustment of status for my mom after her being in the United States for the past 30 years. So who can adjust their status? That person can adjust their status. They most definitely can. And I'll walk through the process of adjustment of status, but this process of adjustment of status is the same for any adjustment of status application. Of course, yes, there will be some nuances. We do have to make sure that this parent of yours, if this is the situation for you, does qualify. There's nothing else that makes them disqualified to not get their green card. And of course, same goes for any green card application, whether across the board, any immigration petition that we're going to be filing. But that is a possibility. So the way that process works is you file a full application with USCIS. That includes that same I-130 petition for alien relative, but concurrently with that I-130 petition, you're also going to be filing an I-485 adjustment of status application, work authorization, and travel authorization. So those 4 applications are the main ones for the most part. Those 4 applications are filed all together in one application and they're mailed off to USCIS. And if you follow along, if you're following along here, we have begin your journey, you file the application. Once you file the application, you will receive receipt notices from USCIS saying that, hey, we've received your application, thank you so much. Then your parent will be scheduled for biometrics. Once your case is scheduled for biometrics, again, date and time, USCIS makes that decision for you. You make time for that appointment that is scheduled for you. You go in. And then at around, so again, this goes back to kind of what I was saying early, processing times are completely wrench thrown in the system. This is not necessarily the correct timelines, but just overall, this is what the process will look like. After biometrics, your parent can expect to receive that work permit, the combo card is what we call it. It's work authorization, international travel authorization, and their social security card if they don't have one already. So you go through this process. Historically, well, not historically, pre-COVID, it was taking about like 7 to 8 months after we get the process started to get the work authorization. Now it's taking closer to, I don't know what the processing times say anymore, because at one point it was saying that it was going to take 4 years to get this combo card, which was completely inaccurate. But I think right now it's realistically going to take about like 6 to 9 months to get work authorization after you file the application. So then you get the work permit, and then eventually the case will be scheduled for interview. Once the case is scheduled for interview, the way that we do things at our offices will help prepare for the interview. But ultimately, you're ready for the interview. All is good there. Mom or dad will go to the interview at the local office here in the United States, and you take it from there, assuming everything at that interview goes well. Again, the green card the officer will let you know, hey, everything is good. You can get that decision in the mail. And then your parent can expect to get their green card in the mail. This one, it's not going to be an immigrant visa because they're getting their green card. They've already had their visa. They're going to get their green card now in the mail a couple of weeks after that. Looking at the April visa bulletin. The visa bulletin is applicable to some family-based applications. It actually doesn't apply to parents because parents are considered immediate relatives of United States citizen. But I'm glad this is in here because it will help kind of actually make my point about what I was saying earlier about petitioning for your sibling. And that's down here. So sibling petitions are backlogged to, for the most part, 2006, but for Mexico, back to 1998. Yes, you guys are reading that correctly. So that's backlogs there. But this is the visa bulletin that dictates the number of people that can get their green cards in each given category in each given fiscal year. So this is the visa bulletin. Beyond green cards, citizenship. So citizenship is something, obviously, so once you're a green card holder, citizenship is your next step. For some people who are, let's say I'm a child. I am a child. Let's say I'm a green card holder, and I do want my parents to get their green cards. U.S. citizenship obviously is the first step in going down that pathway. I have to be a green card holder, depending on my marital status, for either 3 or 5 years. So if I'm married to a United States citizen and I've been living with that United States citizen for 3 years and I've been a green card holder for 3 years, I can apply for U.S. citizenship in 3 years. If that is not the case for me, then I can apply for U.S. citizenship at the 5-year anniversary of me having my green card. So for U.S. citizenship, those are the things that we have to consider. And again, the second that you're a U.S. citizen, you can apply for your parents to get their green cards as well. So with U.S. citizenship, what they're looking at is that you have been a green card holder for that specific number of years, that you have been in the United States for 50% of your time over the course of those 5 or 3 years, and that you have never taken any trips outside of the US for 6 months or longer, and that you're just overall a good person, a good wholesome person, no crimes, no issues, you pay your taxes, and that just you're a person who holds good moral character. Ultimately, again, your case will be scheduled for interview locally in the United States. You will be tested on your civics, so they'll ask you questions about U.S. government, the U.S. government, U.S. history, U.S. I already said history, U.S. Geography, things of that nature. Of those questions, you have to get, it's kind of silly, you have to get a D average. They'll ask you 10 questions at time of interview. Of those 10 questions, you have to get 6 of those 10 correct in order for you to pass the test. So not that difficult of a threshold. I always tell people, my grandma spoke no English. She took this, she became a citizen. She took the test, bless her heart. I have no idea how she did it, but she passed. So if my grandma can do it, so can you. What does immigration look like under the Biden administration? Hopeful. I can tell you that much. I have a little placard on my desk that says hope, and that is exactly what we are getting back now, and what we can look forward to in the next 4 years. As some already know, Biden has a 6-pillared immigration plan. Number 1 is undoing Trump's changes, and we're already seeing a lot of that, so we're grateful for that. Modernizing the immigration system. We have an archaic immigration system, and it is so in desperate need of a facelift. So it's a part of Biden's plans. We're welcoming immigrants. We are no longer going to be an anti-immigrant country, which is beautiful. And again, we're already seeing that. A part of the pillars is that administration is looking to support asylum seekers and refugees, supporting people to have safety in Central and Latin America, and implementing effective border screening so that the people that we're letting into this country deserve to be in this country. So this is Biden's 6-pillared immigration plan. What has he done since January the 20th? He's been a busy man. What has he done? He has ended the Muslim ban. That was one of the very first things that he did. The Muslim ban, of course, saying that people of specific countries are unable to enter the United States because they are a dominantly or primarily Muslim country, is no longer in play. Deportation changes to protect children. What they're trying to do is, of course, unite families. They pulled funds from the border, from creating the border wall. They're strengthening programs to support refugees and for asylum, which kind of tanked during the prior administration. And they replaced Buy American, Hire American. And one of the most important things, go back. One of the most important things that Biden has done is actually more recent, and it is the most wonderful thing for immigration attorneys, immigrants, and honestly, even USCIS themselves, is that Biden got rid of the public charge rule. What is the public charge rule? The public charge rule was the worst thing, honestly, for my parent applications. With the public charge rule, what Trump implemented is a higher scrutiny when it comes to green card applications and the affidavit of support-ish kind of thing. So ultimately what there was an additional miserable form, both in locally in the US, as well as at the consulates, that said that if we're going to let you, immigrant applicant, enter the United States, prove to us that you're going to enter the US and not be a public charge, you're not going to take any public benefits from us. And the way that you're going to prove that to me is that you're young, that you have an education, that you speak English, that you're healthy, and that you have a close family member that is going to be able to be your financial backbone in the United States. For my employment-based applications, and then maybe some of my marriage-based applications where they're younger and they do have a degree, it was a hassle, but it was not resulting in denials. For my parent-based applications, luckily we never actually saw any of this really play out yet, because this was a hot mess of a rule, and I can go back and I'll explain to you what the history of that was. But it was really hindering the parent-based applications, because the whole goal and premise of me having, or any immigrant child having their parent come to the United States to join your family, your child in the United States, is so that you can retire with them, so that you can grow old with them, so that they can take care of you and watch you grow old. And so with that, it was kind of ridiculous to expect these parents who are coming to the United States to be with their child, to prove to them that they're young. They can't prove that. They're a parent of somebody. They're a parent of somebody who has a child who's at least 21 years old. Proving that when they come to the United States that they're going to be employable. Most of the parent applications, they're retired already. They're older. They want to, again, come and join their child in the United States so that they can be supported and taken care of by their child. So it was a real hindrance for for the parent applications, and we are so grateful that that rule has been done away with. The rule was done away. It came back and forth. It was like a zombie that resurrected back and forth several times. It started off in August or October of 2019. It was immediately went to the courts, and then it came back, and then it went away again, and it came back and it went away again. So they're immigration attorneys. We have been on the tips of our chairs, or on our tiptoes, on the edges of our seats, kind of seeing what's going to happen. Okay, I'm filing a green card application today. Do I have to file this additional ridiculous form that requires me to prove these crazy things, including we had to provide credit scores, and a lot of immigrants don't have credit scores. So how the heck do you prove that? So it was definitely, it was something else. It was interesting, but it's done with, and I'm so happy that we no longer have to deal with this, and that it's going to be more fair across the board. So that is one of the best and the most exciting things, in my opinion, that Biden has done since January. The U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021. This was the bill that was submitted for consideration. When it was initially submitted for this bill was considered for consideration to us, saying, "I'm ready to apply for my green card. I'm on DACA. I've been undocumented. Let me know what I have to do." Hold on, we're not there yet. This is a proposal. It is not yet law. So until it is law just yet, hang in there, continue to keep your fingers crossed, do whatever it is to send positive energy out in whoever is reviewing this so that we can actually see this become law, because man, would it be fantastic. But ultimately what it does is it gives, it says it up here and allow me to read it, to provide an earned path to citizenship to address the causes of migration responsibly and manage the southern border, and to reform the immigrant visa system and for other purposes. Man, do we need this. The earned path to citizenship are those specifically who have been in the United States, who have maybe DACA, TPS, whatever it may be, and giving them, again, like it says, an earned path to citizenship. So again, not law just yet, but just hang in there, and we're hopeful that we'll see some play or some action on this soon. Work visa highlights, if anybody has any interest here about work visas and what Biden has done. We're seeing more working visas. What we're seeing already, there's an entrepreneurship visa that we're now able to file for. So there's just more pathways available. What the administration hopes to do is to clear green card backlogs and reduce lengthy priority wait times, and just eliminate the per capita per country caps. If you think back a couple of slides where I was going through that visa bulletin, the visa bulletin for the employment or business related immigration side is a lot lengthier in wait times, and it's ridiculous, and it really hinders citizens of India and China. So that's what they're hoping to do, is clear those backlogs or reduce the waits at least. New green card pathways are hopefully going to be created for people with STEM degrees or individuals with STEM degrees from U.S. universities, making that H-4 EAD a permanent thing. There was always rumors during the Trump administration that was going to be taken away. Prevent children from aging out. This is a huge one. So many children age out of the immigration system because they at age 21, again, weird ages with immigration, but 21 pops up more often than not. Children are no longer considered children, so they can no longer benefit from green cards through their parents. So that's a couple of things. There's new regional economic development green cards as well. So again, some highlights. And then a huge thing is just keeping families together, is what we're hoping to see. And again, this was a part of that bill. So if passed, it would consider allowing beneficiaries with approved I-130 petitions to enter the United States while their priority dates become current. So that's for, if you, and going back several minutes ago now, or several slides ago now, where I discussed there's the three-step process for consular processing. Basically what the bill suggests is, after part 1 is approved, that the individuals can enter the United States and await parts 2 and 3 to be done so that they can come to the US and kind of start their lives. So that's a huge one. Another suggestion is eliminating the 3-year and 10-year bars. What these bars are is that if somebody enters the United States and accrues unlawful presence for either 180 days or more than 365 days, and they depart the United States, they will automatically trigger a 3-year or a 10-year bar from entry into the US. So that bill proposes that we eliminate that. Another proposal is making it easier for spouses and children to join their families that are already in the United States. Again, family reunification is huge. increase of processing times and just overall green cards being issued. Increasing the number of green cards in the diversity visa lottery. The diversity visa lottery is another one of those weird parts of immigration where oftentimes they're saying, oh, no more diversity visa, we're not going to do it this year, we're not doing this anymore. So what the bill proposes is to have more in there. And then stop using the word alien and changing it to non-citizen in immigration laws. Going back to my pink card, my pink green card, I was a resident alien. And then kind of just touching upon the language of what the I-130 form is. It's I-130 petition for alien relatives. So instead they want it to be petition for non-citizen relative. That was difficult for me to put together. So it'll take some time to adjust to that, but I love that proposal. We don't need to be aliens, we're all humans. Some of us citizens, some of us not. And then this pathway to citizenship. So that earned pathway to citizenship is a two-tiered proposal, automatically making farm workers, people with TPS, and undocumented citizens green card holders, so those who came to the U.S. as children eligible for green cards. After 3 years, they can apply for U.S. citizenship. So super exciting. Temporary deportation relief. So giving people this just hope, pathways, opportunities, options. And what's most important is they will be required to pass a background check, to pass national security checks, and just make sure that they're not a criminal and they deserve to be in the United States. And they have to also prove that they have filed their taxes and they are willing or have been paying their application fees. So for those people who say that we need to keep our borders closed, we need to protect the United States, all of those people really don't know the vetting that does actually go in the immigration process. And for those who don't know, I mean, it's hard. You have to prove a lot in order to come to the United States and get your status legally here. So that's kind of it. Harness your options. What you should do. I mean, just consider it. Let's start. If you have questions, if you want to go down this pathway, if this is just something that you want to do, plan your investment and what you need to do. So obviously you got to plan your time. How soon can you do it? Are you a citizen yet? Or if you're a citizen, let's get started. There's no better time than the present. And just kind of considering various parts of what we need. Again, kind of just walking through the processes. You initiate the case. Once the case is initiated, we send over checklists of documents, questionnaires. This will elicit what we need from you in order to put together your application. And then you kind of leave the rest to us. Hold our hand and let us guide you through that immigration journey. So take a stab at it, take your time. And then whenever you're ready to get started, consider us a resource. With that said, tell us what we can do to support you, and just kind of stay in our radar. You can do that by following us on our social media platforms. We're on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And we have this cool podcast. I'm on the podcast often. So if you are interested in learning just about immigration, it's call me biased, but I think it's a wonderful podcast. It's called Immigration Law for Tech Startups, and it's not geared only toward tech startups. A lot of them are. A lot of the podcasts are geared towards that. But if you flip through, there's plenty. I'm like I said, I'm on it often. We have a new episode every Tuesday. Actually, the episode that aired yesterday, it was done by myself, and we discussed family-based options, and I interviewed a family law divorce law firm, and it was actually pretty interesting. So have a listen, take a peek, take a look, and then of course our email and our phone number and our website is down there as well. Any questions that you could possibly have, reach out to us. Let us know what we can do to support you and your family. So now I'll open the floor to some questions. I see some in the Q&A. And I'll get started on answering them. I do want to say that everything we discuss is confidential, but right now, please try to limit yourselves from asking any questions particular to your specific case. If you have any questions related to your specific case, reach out to me. Let's schedule a consultation separate so that I can kind of roll up my sleeves with you, ask you some more of those personal questions in a confidential manner so that I can support you and answer your questions. All right, let me dive in and ask those questions. If I am a green card holder, can I file the I-130 before I become a US citizen so that my parents are processed faster? I wish. We cannot. A part of the evidence that we have to prove with that I-130 petition, in addition to, of course, showing that parental-child relationship, is we have to prove that you're a United States citizen. And the way that we prove that is by providing a copy of your certificate of naturalization, your birth certificate, your US-born birth certificate, or your US passport. So without proof of your U.S. citizenship, we are unable to get started on that just yet. But some people will ask me, I'm scheduled for my oath ceremony next week on Monday. Can I file my application on Tuesday, or do I have to wait like a cooling period? No, you get that application ready, and once you have that certificate of naturalization, you put everything together, and you file that with USCIS. So you can get started, but you just can't file yet, or else the application will be rejected. I would like to sponsor my sibling, but I understand that it takes a lot longer. Once my parent receives their green card, can they sponsor my sibling? If so, how long does that usually take? Oh, that is such a good question. Absolutely. So that's kind of a creative solution to getting a sibling in the United States faster. So let me see if I can scroll back several slides. Sorry if I'm making you dizzy. So here, it depends on whether or not your sibling is married and basically how old your sibling is. So we look at these pathways. So a lawful permanent resident, so a green card holder, can petition for their child who is under the age of 21 or unmarried and over the age of 21. So those are the only two categories of children that can be petitioned by a green card holder. If your sibling is married, unfortunately, they will have to wait 5 years until your parent becomes a US citizen. Then they can petition for them to get once they're US citizens, they'll be under the F1 category, then they can petition. So with this, it kind of requires some numbers crunching and some figuring out what is going to be the fastest processes and pathways. But it's feasible and it's possible. So let's say I want to petition for my mom and I have a sibling, or my mom and dad, and I have a sibling who is 6 years old. I cannot petition for my sibling, but I can petition for my mom and my dad. When my mom and my dad enter the United States, then, or once they get their green card, there's some things that we can tinker around with. But once they get their green card, my mom and dad can then petition for my 6-year-old sibling to get their green card as well. So again, it requires some creativity. Or let's say I have a 22-year-old sibling who's not married yet. My mom and dad can petition for them as well. And again, so they would fall under the F2B category. They would be able to, they benefit a little bit from that. Unless they're from Mexico, you might as well just petition for your sibling on your own. But again, with that, if that is the case or the situation that you fall under, let me know, and we can schedule some time to kind of figure it out. What if my parents don't want to live in the US year round? That's also an interesting question. With that, it begs the question of, are your parents sure that they want to become green card holders, or do they just want to be entering the US in and out as visitors? Again, all questions that I would want to discuss or consider with somebody. Let's schedule a consult. So please reach out to me if you have that specific question. But your parents don't necessarily, or any green card holder doesn't necessarily need to live in the United States year round. As a green card holder, you are permitted to have more than one residence in the world, but the US has to be your primary residence. And you have to kind of be careful. Let's say your parent wants to go and visit their home country. Just be careful how long that they're going to be visiting their home country for, and when they plan to re-enter. Once that's the case, we just have to, again, make sure, are they going to risk abandoning their green card that we worked so hard to get? Or can we consider filing a re-entry permit for them? A re-entry permit ultimately gives them permission to stay outside of the United States for longer extended periods of time. All possibilities, all viable options. Again, reach out to me and we can schedule some time once this becomes an imminent issue for you, but they don't necessarily have to live in the US year round. Do I have to meet a minimum income to sponsor my parents? Yes. So again, I guess I didn't really go into this during the call earlier, or during what I was saying earlier. Apologies for that. But yes, you do have to make a minimum financial amount to sponsor anybody. So on the family-based side, any petitioner, whether it's sponsoring your parents, sponsoring your siblings, sponsoring your spouse, whatever it may be, you have to make a minimum financial amount, and that's based off of the poverty guideline. It's a low threshold, especially considering us in the Bay Area. But it's assuming that it's just me petitioning for my parent and I claim no other dependents on my taxes, then I need to make a minimum of around $25,000 annually in order to be able to qualify to petition for my parents myself. So if you do meet that financial requirement on your own, fantastic. If you don't meet it on your own, there's other ways that we can make sure that you can still sponsor your parents by possibly getting a joint sponsor, or maybe your parents can be their own sponsor if they have assets that they can depend on. So it's a possibility, and again, just requires an attorney to kind of problem solve with you. Next question. If a retired parent finally gets their green card but wants to travel back and forth to their home country, how long can they stay in their home country without affecting their status? Great question. So with this, it kind of goes towards US citizenship a little bit as well. So for me, the question here that I always like to ask first before I get into this is, what are your priorities? Do you hope to eventually become a US citizen? If the answer is yes, I hope to eventually become a US citizen, then my answer to this question is 6 months. You cannot have any trips outside of the United States for longer 6 months, because if that's the case, then you will lose, or you will delay your ability to apply for US citizenship. So as a green card holder, my recommendation for people in this situation is always try to remain in the United States for obviously as much time as you can, but then any trips outside of the US, keep them around 5 months or shorter, just in case, or that's just my recommendation. So six at least, preferably 5 months, because I practice conservatively, but no longer than 6 months, no trips longer than 6 months. If you tell me my parents really don't want to apply for US citizenship because our country does not allow for dual citizenship and they're not ready to forego their passport just yet, which is a very fair consideration. If that's the case, I would still recommend no trips longer than 6 months, just because it's going to make their lives easier upon re-entry. And that kind of goes into more of the regulations of green card abandonment, which I'm happy to go into very briefly. Let me check the time. Maybe I don't have that kind of time. But ultimately, no trips longer than 6 months is my go-to for that answer. And if you have any more specific questions related to this, please reach out to me directly. You have my email, and I'd be happy to hop on a consult with you to answer these questions. Let me go all the way back to my last slide just so that you guys have that information to reach out to me. Can I be with my dad at his consulate interview? I'm worried he will interpret questions wrong. Great question. The answer is unfortunately no. The only people allowed at the consular interviews is the applicant only. Don't worry about interpreting questions wrong if the concern is a language barrier. If your interview is in the interviews are going to be in the home country, they're allowed to do it in either English or in that country's foreign tongue. So if you have any concerns about that specifically, let's talk about that some more. But interviews can be done in that country's language. And it will not negatively impact the case, especially now that we no longer have that public charge issue. Follow-up question regarding minimum income. If I sponsor 2 parents, do I need to show double of that minimum income? Great question. No, the answer is no. With each additional dependent that either you're going to be petitioning for or that you claim on your taxes, more or less it's around like $5,000 per additional person. So let's say it's me and my 2 parents. I would need to make not a minimum financial amount of $25,000 annually. It would be $30,000 annually. If it's me, my husband, and we file our taxes jointly, my mom and my dad, let's do the math, 25, 30, 35, 40, I would have to make a minimum financial amount of $40,000 annually. I'm going to wrap up because we have 1 minute left. Thank you all so much for being here with me today. If you have any specific questions, case-related questions, or just anything that I can support you, your loved ones, anybody that you know with immigration-wise, my contact information is there, and I'm more than happy to do whatever I can to support you and do what we can. Alcorn Immigration Law, we're here to be a resource for you. So please consider us. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.